Hi, welcome to Infusion Health, the podcast. I'm comedian Chris Patrick, a.k.a. Self-Proclaimed Power Man. And I'm here with my co-host and significant other, Rach.
Hey, guys.
Now, today, we have Terri Short. She's calling from Colorado. What is she, training for another marathon or something like that, Rach? Or no?
What are you doing out there, Terri?
No, I would not be training here. I'm at 9,000 feet right now, so it's not going to happen.
Okay. Yeah. Well, she's written a book before. We've had her on the show before, and we were talking about checking our tone and choosing our words wisely. And she's also written a book, as you know, The Words We Choose. But today we're talking about one thing we all do, and sometimes I love doing it. I do. I love doing it sometimes because I got, so busy sometimes, and sometimes it's like, you know what, I'm just gonna sit here and I'm just gonna watch TV and I'm just gonna chill. I'm just gonna zone out. We're talking about And that's when getting work done. But I think we're talking about the opposite. We're talking about procrastination.
You were doing it right now.
No, I wasn't. No, I got my little shows I watch, but sometimes, you're just so busy, just like, hey, you know what? I'm just going to sit here and just relax for, a couple hours or something like that.
Well, you should probably invite her in before you procrastinate doing that.
So, yeah, definitely. So, Terri, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So today,
thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes.
So today we're talking about procrastination. What is? I guess there's a science behind it.
Neuroscience.
A neuroscience.
Green science.
So does that mean something in your brain just says, "Hey, you need to just, I just want to sit here and not do anything"? Or?
Exactly. Well, you just nailed it when you did that intro because first of all, no offense, Chris, but it's basically irrational to procrastinate.
Okay.
But you nailed it in like what's going through your head is we do it because we're avoiding, this is the neuroscience part, we're avoiding something else. Like we're frustrated or we just spent, like you were saying, like, I'm done. Sometimes we're experiencing anxiety or doubt or some resentment. I'm not going to do that. I shouldn't have been assigned that in the first place, or I never wanted to do it. So we get some sort of emotion build up and then that's when we choose to procrastinate. I'm not doing it. Yeah. So it's actually more of an emotional response to not do it. And therefore it's actually I'm quoting one of the doctors that wrote one of the articles I read about this and saying that procrastination is essentially irrational because we know it's going to make us feel worse. Right. And we go, yeah, because I didn't get to that. And so we're starting a downward spiral.
Well, that's so true. I mean, I don't know how many times I have to talk myself out of procrastinating. And finally, I'm getting to the point where, okay, you can procrastinate this or you can just do it. You can either ask them to see if they want to be on the podcast, or you can just wait. And then the time has passed. So, yeah, I mean...
Yeah. Rach, one of my favorite articles it's called Why You Procrastinate. It has nothing to do with self-control. So, a lot of people think like, I'm so lazy. I'm not I'm not stepping up to do that or whatever. It's not about that. It's actually a little bit more self-harmish than lazy because you're choosing to not do it knowing that it's going to make you feel worse. So there are a couple of key things to overcome that. I mean, I like where you said, let's just say to myself, do it, don't do it. And I make the choice to do it. But there are a couple of other steps you can take. You want to hear them?
Absolutely.
Well, we talk about the 6 pillars of well-being. And so I've broken this down based on the science. I've kind of woven it throughout our 6 pillars. Step 1, first and foremost, is that self-awareness. So thinking about what do I feel about doing this task? Like digging into that emotion, right? Mm-hmm. How does that feeling serve me? What exactly is triggering or activating this feeling? So really doubling down on your self-awareness before you even make the choice, right? Another one is community. Excuse me. So, getting other people involved, particularly when something's huge, when it seems insurmountable, it's really good to have an accountability partner or even somebody with a fresh perspective. Like I bet you two do that with each other, right?
Yeah. I think Chris about his business plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just because then you can, one person can help the other get out of any sort of unhelpful beliefs or anything that's limiting or diminishing. So the number 3 is movement. So absolutely key to take a movement break before you sit down to accomplish something that seems insurmountable or is a big challenge, because there's momentum associated with that, right? Mm-hmm. And you can go back to the community part and engage with somebody else and take a walk and clear your head and say, I'm giving myself, like, kind of flip it and say, instead of feeling better because I'm not going to do this, I'm going to feel better by doing something that requires movement, and then I'm preparing myself to do this thing.
Terri,
so that's the third one.
Now on that third one, movement, I've seen people that were in a procrastination movement and decided to do some stretches, and then they went forward and did what they needed to do. Is that the kind of movement you're talking about?
Yep, exactly. Where you're kind of gaining momentum. Okay, now I feel good about these stretches, or, what I've done. I'm ready. I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to tackle it. Mm-hmm.
One of the ways I deal with procrastination, other than the business plan, it's just the business plan has been a thing of like, man, with the math and all that's like, how do I attack this, But I have looked into it. But one of the things about I deal with procrastination is kind of like putting up a list, and I know a lot of people do this. Like, I got to call these people. I got to call this. I got to call these people today. I got to do this. I got to do that. But sometimes Rachel gets mad at me because like I get in modes, and when I get in modes, like in the morning, it's like I wake up, it's like, okay, I got to do this. I got to make breakfast. I got to do this. I got to get to work. And she's like, you're not even saying goodbye to me. I'm like, I'm in go mode right now. I'm not. My mind's somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, then what you're saying is like it appeals to you to kind of tick things off. This, and that's most everybody likes to check things off. So breaking the bigger thing down into smaller chunks enables you to do that, and then you can break through them, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. But before we leave movement, though, I want to go back. Like, it's a double-edged thing. I can say like, oh, okay, I'm procrastinating, and I'll go for a run, and then as soon as I'm done, I'll get myself into it. And next thing you know, I'm like Forrest Gump. I'm like running.
Say overexert yourself. You're going to put yourself in a different kind of procrastination.
Right. Or running away from it, or what have you. So you do have to watch that. But yeah, and then what you were talking about, that but now you're going to focus and break it into smaller things. That's presence. So eliminating all distractions, making things more manageable, saying like, okay, I'm not going to do this whole big thing, but I'm going to become self-aware. We already talked about, I've done my movement, and now I'm going to be totally present and decide exactly what pieces of this I'm going to do right now. Yep. Yeah, and then we always say take a look at your intuition, because I think it here at Thriving Leader Collaborative, we're on a mission to have a better intersection between well-being and leadership. Mm-hmm. And part of that is being more accepting of what your senses are telling you. Right. So accepting that your senses provide a little bit of additional data. And so think about what's coming up around this project, and, what other information and what else is informing you. And that might lead you to reframe the project or, whatever the deliverable is. And that's always a good thing too. Just thinking about how, like, what if I'm having this angst about doing this thing, what's really going on? Maybe I have this frustration because I think so-and-so should have been doing it. So maybe I decide then that I'm going to collaborate with so-and-so, and I use sort of that information to take another step.
So you're a accountability partner, like you were talking about earlier.
Yep.
Okay.
One of the things I look at, especially at work, is like my boss will be like, "Well, I need you to do this, do this, do this." And what I found out, what works for me, is to do the hardest stuff first, because the easy stuff's easy. It's like, okay. Because some people, I'll do the easy thing, they get the hard thing. Oh, this. I'm like, well, if I do the hardest stuff first, knock that out, the easy stuff's easy, and I can just get this done, But I always tackle the toughest thing first.
I see what you're saying there, Chris. But for me, sometimes when I'm worried about the yes, I do the little like joyous things like, okay, I got a medal and going to do this, and I got a medal and going to ask the McDonald's person this. Okay, I'm starting to build my yeses so that when I'm ready for the big ask, I have their encouragement in my background to get the big yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing about me is that when it comes to the big ask, I've just found out that and this is the way I work, is like, it doesn't hurt to ask. They can always say yes, they can always say no, but it doesn't hurt to ask. And you just, sometimes you'd be surprised how far you can get if you just ask, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I want to address sort of what the two different perspectives you both offered, which are both effective, right? So, Chris is saying, tackle the big things first. And Rach is saying, sometimes I want to get those little wins under my belt, right? I want to do, and that's key. So let's talk about that first. So what you're doing is you're seeking that positive reinforcement, which is super helpful to lead you towards the completion. Like, accepting those small wins along the way. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, another thing is, kind of the way that Chris is tackling it is, and I would take that a step further and say, calendar those things. So I want to tell you about something called Parkinson's Law. Have you ever heard of such a thing? All right. So I think of Parkinson's Law. It's similar to like when you move to a new place and you have like a new big cupboards and closets, and you go, oh, we'll never fill all this space. And then like in a blink of an eye, it's all full, right? Yeah. So it's like that for time management. So in other words, if somebody says, Chris, I need this presentation by the end of the month, what happens is it goes through our mind as, I have a month to do this. That's Parkinson's Law. Yeah. And then we'll spread the whole thing out over a month, right? Knowing darn well it will not take a month to do the different components. Right. So, yeah, so I think that's what you're saying, Chris, is like you mindfully go, okay, here's this thing on the outside or in the distance, and I'm gonna do the main part of it now, and that's key. So to combat Parkinson's Law, which leads you to procrastination if you don't, then you kind of check it down and put it on your calendar. So like be realistic. The minute somebody says, I need this deliverable on X date, like stop or at least put on your calendar time 30 minutes to stop and say, what's it really going to take? Realistically, how long does it take me to put it together? Who else needs to be involved? What other meetings have to happen? And then make it realistic. Don't make it take a month. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So pushing forward, because I know some people that just go boom, boom, boom. They're on 100 all the time. But some people are like, okay, yeah, I can relax here. I can wait here. And I know some people that they have stuff like you said. They always put it off until the last minute. It's like, you could have did this 2 days ago. It would have been done.
Our children.
And then I got to do it now. Well, if you'd have did this 2 days ago when you had the time, now you waited till the last minute to get it done,
Our children and our chores, and literally, Terri, like dealing with my daughter right before, that's why we were late calling you. She's trying to get to this dance tonight. And she told me I had been asking her all week when it is. And then Thursday night at 9:00, she's like, well, it's this time. I'm like, well, you have to work on Saturday. How are you going to get all this done? Because me and Chris have plans tonight. So me as a mother, I'm thinking about, okay, my brother's coming to town. I can ask him to drive. And my brother said yes, but my brother's also busy. So I'm like, I don't really want to do that to him. So I called him. I got the yes from him. Then I called her grandma and got the yes from her grandma. Now it's like, okay, do you have a ride or not? Because now I have a for sure ride. I canceled with your uncle. I've got your grandma picking you up. And are your boyfriend and his mom going to pick you up? Because this is...
Oh, my. Oh, my. Yikes.
I'm going to be gone.
Yikes. Well, so here's the thing. That is an excellent example. So I'll go back to the very beginning of what I was saying. And my curiosity would be, like, what caused her to put it off? Mm-hmm. Like, what was going on emotionally that caused her to procrastinate even talking about it? Even saying, like, hey, so there, because, maybe there's some anxiety there that is what, from the neuroscience standpoint, it's what something caused her to not be talking about it, not share it with you in a timely manner. So it's an excellent example. Yeah. Love it.
Did we get through all the points? I know you stopped at 3. I want to make sure that we get all the points for the listeners. So there's just one more that's one of our well-being pillars, and that's energetic hygiene. And so think about you're saying, today I really, first of all, we talked about word choices last time that we talked, right? That makes a huge difference. So if I say, oh, I really have to do such and such, as opposed to I get to tackle this today, or
I need to do this. I hear people talk about all the time, I need to do this. And I think, do you need to do it or do you want to do it? Because if you want to do it, you're going to approach it differently, right?
Yeah.
So the energetic hygiene part is to shake off that negative energy that would then allow you to choose the right word. I want to do this, or I got to do this, and set you up. And, you can shake it off by lots of different ways. Some of my favorite is sort of snapping your fingers. Like, I'm talking about literally dispelling the negative energy that might be surrounding you right now. And, some finger snaps, some, deep breaths going, okay, to get yourself away from any negativity and set yourself up to proceed in a positive way.
Well, I know with my children and procrastination, as far as not the chores, unfortunately, because Chris just wants to wring their necks on that. Let's just be honest.
The thing
He's
is,
very old school on how you clean a house, and it's nowhere near.
Well, the thing is like, we got 3 of them. We used to have 5 of them, and it's like, there's no reason this house should look like this. You all take your chores, but the thing is, they come home and, we're in this electronic age. Everybody wants to get on their computers, their cell phones, and other stuff. That's like, okay, when you get home, the first thing you should do is clean the house. Then you got plenty of time to play and all that, but they want to play first and all that. Then they come home and they're like, well, why are you mad? It's like, well, if you'd have did this when you got home, just tackled this first thing, then you would have had the rest of the day to do whatever. I wouldn't be mad.
I actually think that's an excellent point, because even me as a child, I remember getting more done before we got a Nintendo system in the house. And then it's like, I gotta beat this one guy. Okay, I just want to see the start of this new scene. Okay, let's see what's going on. And then it's like 3 hours past. I remember my mom coming home and saying, you guys are blocked from Nintendo. You did not clean the house.
Yeah.
I gave you ample time. These were your chores.
Yeah.
End of discussion.
And that's what I deal with.
Yeah. Okay. So there are a couple things going on there. So first of all, I would contend that the kids are operating on Parkinson's law. They think that cleaning of the house takes way more time than it really does.
Yes.
Yeah.
Way more time, right? So if they said, okay, I'm not going to clean the house is not going to take from the moment I get home until dinner time. It's going to take, they said, no. I'm going to be much more realistic about this. But you could have a game one time and time them. How long does it really take for everybody to do their share? Probably like 20, 30 minutes, right? Mm-hmm. And so they invest that 20, 30 minutes up front, and then their reward is the playing of the games and such. Just like you said, Rach, earlier about that positive reinforcement, that's what would be helpful. Like the positive reinforcement of, here's what you get to do because you invested that 30 minutes.
Right.
And and the difference that it makes to our family is X, like how, particularly from Chris's perspective, how happy it makes him.
Yeah.
But society-wise, one of the reasons I harp on them about getting stuff done, because I'm like, okay, when you're older, which they are, and you got jobs, they're not going to let you play around. They're going to say, get this done. Right. You need to get it done.
That's right.
And that's going to affect you as you being employed or you getting paid. That's going to affect you in the long run. You got to take care of stuff when they tell you to take care of it. You can't play on your phone and do all that when you're at a job, because they're paying you to do this.
That's right. So I'd flip it with them. I would entertain a conversation at least once a week about, maybe at the dinner table, about what did you accomplish in a timely manner this week and how did that feel? Right. And, start to get them to recognize that being timely or even being ahead of schedule is a good feeling, right? Mm-hmm. And what did your boss think about it or what have you? Like get them, go to the positive place of what they are doing well and tease that out a little bit more. And I bet you, because it's like, it's a dopamine hit. Like we want more of that. Even telling you, if you ask me that, I'm one of the kids, you asked me that at dinner, even telling you about it is like that drip of dopamine that I want again at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like I was saying, not with the chores, but with the other things that they have to do in life, because now they're older. They're all adults. As for acting it, They say that you don't actually hit adulthood until you're 25, and you hit your true adulthood when you lose your parents. So there's that fact. But moving on, my daughter, one of my daughters, she wants to be an actress. And I'm like, well, why don't you set a list of the people that you want to call? And when you've called those 3 people, give yourself a little bit of reward, because she makes decent enough money that she always wants to go shopping and stuff like that. I'm like, well, how about you take shopping and put it at the end of the list, and when you've made those 3 phone calls, then you get to go shopping.
Excellent. That's excellent advice, right? That's it. You're pulling it all together nicely. Yeah. Yeah, because you had her sort of chunk it down. Instead of calling a dozen people, I'm going to call 3, and then set the time to do that, and then have a reward for each one. Even if she says the goal is 3, after she does 3, then she has that reinforcement. Right. Kind of the one thing that I alluded to but didn't go too deep in is this whole calendaring thing. You guys, when I'm in front of, it doesn't matter, 20 people, 500 people, and I say, raise your hand if you live by your calendar. Every hand goes up. Yes. Every hand. And I bet that your kids are starting, that's part of like adulting, is that, because my kids are in the same boat, is they're starting to understand the value of putting the right things on the calendar. Right. And so that chunking it down and saying, I'll do this today or this by the end of the week, and putting it not when time permits, but putting it at an actual time that I'm going to do that thing. Mm-hmm. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what are some cures for over procrastination, or people who over procrastinate? What
are some what? Say that again.
Some cures.
Some cures.
How do you cure? How do you cure yourself? Because I know some people, and me myself, procrastinate. Finally, you stand up and you come home and you look at this dirty house, going, I'm cleaning this. I'm not turning TV on. I'm not doing this. I'm cleaning this house, or I'm taking care of this.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. So, the things that I mentioned, and I would add to that don't beat yourself up about it, because I just recently been coaching somebody who said, oh my gosh, I didn't think anybody procrastinated as badly as me. Everybody procrastinates. We're just on a spectrum, right? We're just on a spectrum somewhere. And where we are on that spectrum changes with what's going on in our lives, because it's an emotional response. Mm-hmm. So if you're not in a good place emotionally, like you're feeling a bit depressed or what have you, you're going to procrastinate more. Right. And then it becomes this vicious cycle, this spiral, which actually can create physical problems, manifest in physical problems. Yeah. So again, step 1 is that self-awareness. What's going on? Like, recognize that you're using the doing of a thing as a coping mechanism, right? And so start to understand that, and start to peel back the layers of the emotion behind putting this thing off. Like, why are you doing that? Right. What's the trigger or the activation behind it, right? And then then choose from the other things: community, involving somebody else, movement, presence, getting yourself like free of all distraction, the calendaring, all those different things that we talked about. Some work differently for different people. Mm-hmm. So it's not like do all of them. It's start with the self-awareness and then choose, how you're gonna proceed and what works best for you.
Well, how is that different from somebody who like my mom was like that? My mom could come home. She couldn't even watch TV. If there was something I wanted to show her on TV, she's like, I got to pick this up. I got to move this. I got to take this, this is dirty. This is dirty. I got to clean this. She was always like that. She was like, can you just sit down for a second and just watch this? Well, no, I got to clean this. Who left this here? I got to put this away. It's like.
What I've learned from that, and I don't know who I learned it from, is let the person know before they come home. Before they're in your presence. So that they are looking forward to that conversation with you. And then they're already in the mindset when they're by you. And then they can start working on all the other things that they want to get done.
Yeah, well, you're also explaining or illustrating like 2 ends of the spectrum. And so that's procrastination, don't do anything, or multitasking, attempt to do everything. Yeah, right? Yeah. And from a neuroscience standpoint, neither of those things serve us. As a matter of fact, this could be a whole other conversation, but only 3% from a neuroscience standpoint, only 3% of the human population can effectively multitask.
Mm-hmm.
So seriously, guys, when I heard that, I was like, okay, well, maybe I'm part of that 3%. That was my first thought.
Mm-hmm.
That was my initial thought. And then I went like, okay, never mind. Because what you're doing is you're task switching, and then lots gets left in the cracks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Causes memory issues, all kinds of problems. So most people who really think they're multitasking are single tasking really well. They're focusing, like your mom was probably doing it. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. I'm going to like stack all those things up till they're completed, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that effort to feel the busyness is a real thing that needs that self-awareness as well. Like go back to, why do I feel like I need to juggle all these things at one time?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause she was like, like I was trying to show her something on TV because I was going to be on TV. I said, Mom, why is this pillow over here? Why is it? Can you just sit down for a second? Just watch this. Well, hold on, I got to pick this up. It's like, just sit down. Just watch this. You can do whatever. Just watch this. Take 30 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, so definitely same thing. Something going on with her. There's something like maybe the stress of the day, and that's how it manifests. That's how instead of sitting in front of the TV, like you might, and her way is to get that energy out. That frustration or what have you that's been building up for her during the day.
Mm-hmm.
So we all have our ways. So
Yes.
that's in the end, that's the deal. We all have our ways, and these are neither one of these. Again, from a neuroscience perspective, serve us well. So be self-aware, see where you're headed, and then take one of the tactics and dismiss the urge.
Right.
Yeah, well, sometimes one of the things that we've been taught in church is that it comes time to release. Because you look at things, it's like, okay, this is here, and you just look at it like, you know what? I'm tired of looking at this. I'm tired of staring at this. I don't need this anymore. I know it was what it, but it's time to just get rid of it. I don't want to look. Yeah, I just get rid of it.
That's
just
right.
Give it away, give it to the Goodwill. But it's
purge.
just time to get rid of it.
That's right. And so it's like a releasing, and that's a real thing. When you release physical things in your life, you're releasing emotional energy as well. So I'm all for that. I'm all about the release and the purge, even with words. So we recently, last weekend, the reason I'm in Colorado is we had our annual retreat in Colorado, and we do this activity, and I would recommend this to your listeners to start with releasing a word that no longer serves you. Just release it. And we wrote them on a Post-it and we put it in the fire.
Okay.
Right? We just let it dissipate, and then replace it with an affirmation or an intention or something that does serve you.
I think they do that at the end of the beginning of the year at our church,
Mm-hmm.
right? With like the Jerusalem rocks, you get rid of the word that doesn't serve you well, and then that you pick a new word, and that's your word for a year that you're trying to manifest.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. I think
Love
it's
it.
something in your life or something like that. Like if you want, more prosperity, you would write prosperity on it, and you would hold that word on the rock, or write that word on the rock and keep that rock near you or with you all the time.
Absolutely. So I'm a fan of being outdoors, and that's a good way to kind of release energy too. And one practice that I've developed is every time I walk over a bridge, and I'm in the Rocky Mountains, there are a lot of bridges. Mm-hmm. If I'm on a bridge on a pathway and I stop and I look upstream and I think about something that's not serving me, maybe this week or this year or in general, and I release that thought into the stream, and then I go and I look on the other side of the bridge and I just sort of imagine that floating away and it's been released. And so just find ways to let go of the things that don't serve you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, like she just said, sometimes people out there, things that don't serve you anymore, it's, get rid of them.
And I think there's strong reason why we're talking about this is because, and correct me if I'm wrong, Terri, it can, if you're too cluttered, if your life is too messy around you, it can build into that procrastination.
Absolutely. It literally wears you down or burdens you, holds you down. right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a real thing, that your burdens can be manifest with physical stuff that accumulates. And so everybody knows that feeling. I want to hopefully everybody knows that feeling of purging and letting stuff go, and how much lighter you feel. And then you feel open and capable of doing the thing you've been putting off.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I have a beautiful story. My son Denzel, Chris is just so tired of his room, and Denzel is such a creative soul that I had him walk out of his room. I shut the door. I said, start thinking about all the creative juices and that you want to create and stuff like that. I said, now open your door. He's like, where'd it go? I'm like, it went in that room. Clean it.
Yeah. Well, because he could probably, his creativity was probably zapped just stepping in the room, right? Because the burden of the stuff, that's what it is. And so he probably couldn't find the creativity while in the room until he literally lightens his load, Yeah. You're actually reminding me of a very funny story. When my kids, kind of from the ages of, they're 25 and just turned 27, and probably from the ages of 6 to 16, my son always wanted a tidy, clean room, and it was very unusual for a kid his age. Like, I mean, he's still like that. Mm-hmm. And our daughter, not so much. And so she would pay him to clean her room. Mm-hmm. So what I loved about that is that it wasn't important to her, and it didn't appeal to her, but she liked the idea of it being clean. And so, it started with like $1
right.
to, come in and straighten and I mean, clean the room. I mean, completely take everything out of the closet and reorganize it, or everything out of the drawers and reorganize it. It was more of not a tidy up, but like a couple times a year reorg.
Right.
And so then I thought, well, wait a minute, they're leveraging their strengths. So that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, this has been another interesting conversation with Terri. Terri, if there's, you got your book, The Words We Choose. Where can they find that book? Amazon and
everywhere. Yep, they can find it everywhere. And I'd love for your listeners to connect with me directly, Terri, Terre, at Thriving Leader Collab or thrivingleaderlc.com. And the website is thrivingleadercollaborative.com.
And that'll be in the show notes, Rach?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, I'm going to let Rach close us out.
I'm looking forward to bringing Terri back on for multitasking in about a month or so. And thank you for joining us, Terri.
It's been awesome as usual, you guys. Can't wait to do it again.
Yeah, thank you.
And as for our listeners, I'm going to close you with, you never know what's blocking you. Could be yourself, could be objects, could be in the environment you're in. Take the win or do it first, and you'll get through your procrastination. Have a great one.
Take it easy.